Welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about the classic Christmas movie, Die Hard. This movie was released in 1988, starring, as we all know, Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman, Bonnie Bedelia, Reginald Vell Johnson, Paul Gleason, William Atherton. This movie was produced by Joel Silver. Joel Silver had just come off of producing, Predator and then Lethal Weapon the year before this one. Here, John McTiernan directed. He was just coming off of the success of Predator, which is was highly regarded back then, still highly regarded as an action sci-fi classic. This movie was Bruce Willis's first big movie. He was mostly known for TV, moonlighting. And back then, TV actors going into movies, starring in movies, was an odd rarity. It's not like it is now where they could go back and forth. And back then, he was paid an unheard of $5 million to star in this movie, which was thought to be crazy by a lot of people, although a lot of people didn't think this movie would work, considering back then most action movies the star was a muscle-bound guy who looked like he can kick ass. This movie was the first of its kind, really, where the hero looks like an everyman. This movie was shot actually at a Fox building. That's what Nakatomi was. It was actually a Fox building. They actually charged themselves rent, which is kind of funny. But as we all know, I'm going to spoil this. It's been out since '88. As we all know, the movie stars Bruce Willis as John McClane. And in the beginning of the movie, we're introduced to him as he's flying to L.A. to meet up with his estranged wife at her company Christmas party and to see the kids for Christmas. He's still living in New York. She had moved out to L.A. prior with the kids, and they haven't been together, and they've been kind of fighting, and he's hoping to patch things up with his wife. Then we're introduced to our bad guys, led by the great Alan Rickman. This was actually Alan Rickman's first movie. He had done some British TV and mostly stage plays. This was his first movie, and he was hesitant on taking a villain role as his first movie. I know he played villains later in his career, but he was unsure about it, but he ended up being a terrific villain. Funny enough, a little bit of trivia, every time he fired a shot in the movie, if you notice his character, they kind of cut away from his face because Alan Rickman had a hard time not wincing every time he fired the gun and the gunshot would go off. As we know, once John McClane gets to Nakatomi Plaza, that's my son in the background, by the way. He's playing a game on his brand new Nintendo Switch he got for his birthday the other day. John McClane gets to Nakatomi, meets up with his wife, and not too long after that, our bad guys show up and take over the building. And John McClane takes off up the stairs undetected, and they kill the guy in charge of Nakatomi, Mr. Takagi. John McClane witnesses this, and then he calls for help. That's when we're introduced to Sergeant Powell, played by Reginald Vell Johnson, who later went on to star in Family Matters. Everybody remembers that because of Steve Urkel, but he was the dad on that show. He shows up at Nakatomi. Everything seems okay. He goes back to his car, and that's when Bruce Willis throws a dead body out the window onto his car. He calls for backup, and now we have a hostage situation. Everybody thinks these guys are terrorists, but really they're thieves. They want to rob the place. And as the movie goes forward, John McClane has to save everybody. He takes out the terrorists one by one. And at the end of the movie, we have our final showdown with Hans Gruber and John McClane. And as there's a saying online, if you see the memes, it's not Christmas until you see Hans Gruber get thrown off at Nakatomi Plaza. And then it's Christmas. There's been arguments over the years, is this a Christmas movie? I think it's a Christmas movie. There's some people that don't. I mean, it is about him going back to make amends with his family. It's Christmas time. I know it's mostly an action movie, but it's a Christmas movie. What the hell? Also, what's funny is for the first half hour, there's no action really in this movie. It takes its time. John McTiernan was good at building tension and suspense. And then when the action does happen, it's very well staged, very well shot. I mean, there was nobody better around that time than John McTiernan. He'd just done Predator, which is a fantastic action sci-fi movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Then he did this, and then he went on to do The Hunt for Red October, and then he gave us the second best Die Hard with a Vengeance, later in the 90s. So John McTiernan had a good run early in his career. Some of his later movies were very hit or miss, mostly miss. And as we all know, the man went to jail for what the charge was. I don't remember. I think he's out now. I think so, but that doesn't matter. And of course, Bruce Willis has reprised his role as John McClane in 5 movies now. This one, Part 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Live Free or Die Hard, and that god-awful last one that took place in Russia. Less said about that one, the better. I do not like that movie at all. Live Free or Die, I can watch it and have fun with it, but the best are, I like the first 3 the best. If I had to rate this movie is definitely an action classic, and it definitely set the standard for action movies going forward. I mean, this is Lethal Weapon for franchise-wise for action. My son is shooting me in the background with his fake gun. We're basically the standard. This and the Terminator, Lethal Weapon, the Rambo series, which the Rambo series petered out after Part 3 until the 2000s when Stallone brought it back. But if I had to rate Die Hard, I would give it a 10 out of 10. I think it's pretty much the perfect action movie. People might disagree with that, but in my opinion, I think it's the perfect action movie. I think Predator's damn near perfect. Lethal Weapon, I know that I gave that a 9 out of 10. I think that's almost a perfect action movie. But yeah, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. I don't think they get much better than this. It's well made, it's well acted. And Joel Silver was kind of known for producing these kind of movies. I mean, some of his movies were hit or miss as well. He did a lot of garbage movies and he did a lot of big hit movies. This was one of them. And he stayed on to do Part 2, and then he kind of left after that. But as we all know, Joel Silver produced the Lethal Weapon series as well. But yeah, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Die Hard, you can't go wrong at Christmas time watching it, or any time of the year. But yeah, definitely recommend it. If you like what you saw, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button down below. Share it if you want. If you've seen the movie, I'm assuming most of you have. Let me know what you thought, what your thoughts are on the movie. Have a discussion about it, and have a very Merry Christmas. See you. Bye.